right. Well, thank you for coming to this um, uh, press conference, last one before our last regular season game this year, and we're excited to have a chance to play this game, to go down and play in New Orleans, a place that many of our kids haven't been, to play an outstanding young football team in Tulane, coached by Curtis Johnson, who's just a great guy to be around, a great coach, and he's doing an excellent job there. And I think the biggest thing for us is for our kids to come down to the final week with something on the line, a chance to get bowl eligible, something that many of them have not done yet. And, I think it would be another step in the right direction for us. So we're practicing as hard as we can out here in this dreary weather today, and look forward to playing our best game. And I think we need to play our best game as we take on this talented team. So with that, I'll see if you guys have any questions. Yeah, well, I think for a couple reasons. I think to win your final game is always something you want to do. I mean, you want to start the season. We want to finish the season the way we started it. We started with a win. We'd like to finish with a win, and just as importantly, to be bowl eligible and to play the schedule that we played, to play the teams that we played. I mean, I think it would be an accomplishment for those guys. I mean, there haven't been many teams that have done it, in Temple's history and even in Temple's recent history, and it's been 3 years or so since we did it last. So, I want us to go do it. There's been some near misses that bother us. There've been some games we didn't play as well as we wanted to, but we've every team that we've lost to is going to a bowl. We've played some good teams, and I'm proud of this team. They're getting better. So I want to finish this the right way, and I want to finish it by getting bowl eligible, and I want to finish it by winning our last game.
Does it get frustrating the way they've been losing, like a lot of close? Because last year it seemed like you couldn't outscore teams, and this year you just, all the games are low scoring, but you're just not quite getting it done.
Yeah, I don't like to lose. Our players don't like to lose, and as I said to, our players today, being a winner or a loser is not defined by actually winning and losing. It's by whether you accept winning and losing, and I certainly don't accept losing, and most of our players don't. So we've made tremendous strides since last year. It doesn't mean that losing these games is acceptable. It's still pretty hard. That was a hard locker room to talk to on Saturday. That Memphis game was a hard game. I mean, we played 6 games at home. We won 3. We lost 3 all by 1 score. So it's not there yet. So yeah, it's tremendously frustrating, but it's also encouraging. Because we're trending that way. So. I always have to talk about where we have to get with where we've been with our kids, so they can seek. Otherwise, they'll just either get too high or too low. And that's a team that I watched the 2012 game. Steve's last year against Cincinnati before. I always go back and watch it. Anytime we play somebody, all the games, and just every year we've gained on Cincinnati a little bit, and we had a chance to win this one, and we have to do it again next year and find a way to beat them. So the kids have done a great job of getting better, but yeah, it's frustrating anytime you lose. Well, they've had a week off, so we have no idea what they're going to do. I mean, they beat Houston at Houston. All their scores have been really tight going into the fourth quarter, and defensively, they are as aggressive. They're going to play man-to-man, which is really what everyone's done to us. Even Cincinnati early on, they played kind of zone coverage. We threw the ball pretty well early, and then kind of went to man-to-man and blitzed us, and just said, hey, we're going to get after you. That's what Tulane will do. They'll blitz us. They'll play man. They'll play a bare front. They've got really good defensive personnel. They've got this defensive tackle, Smart, 77. He's dynamic, athletic. Nico Marley's their linebacker. Just a tremendous player. Both their ends are really good. So they have a really talented defensive front, and they play really aggressively. And then on offense, they've got a young quarterback who I think he just had his first 300-yard game against East Carolina. So he's starting to come on. And Tanner Lee, he's a big kid. Coach has done a good job of, he was with the Saints, so it's all his West Coast stuff and spread stuff. They mix it up on you. You can't get a beat on anything. And they've got some dynamic receivers, some old guys and some young guys that get behind people and make big plays. So they've played everyone tough, and then they've started to find a way to creep in and make, beat Houston and beat some other teams. They've gotten better as the year's gone on. They lost in overtime that first game of the year against Tulsa, and then they've just improved and improved and improved. I mean, they beat Connecticut. They had a chance to beat UCF. I think it was like 12-9, or the scores get away from me sometimes. 12-9 might have been UConn, but they're a really good team, and they've gotten better and better and better. This is a young team. This is a team that'll get better, over the next couple of years as well.
Matt, it seemed the other day in their blitz package that the quarterback didn't seem to recognize the receivers. Maybe should do a better job of recognizing and helping out a little bit, especially when you go three wide, and the corner would be creeping up, and it was obvious they were coming. Is that
Talking about us?
No.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No. They did two things to us. It's a really good question. They blitzed all three linebackers and dropped the ends out, which means technically we're hot, right? And everyone in the country's hot. And we did a great job of throwing the hot one time, and they dropped the defensive end out, and they picked it up. So as you get better with your offensive line, you have your offensive linemen. They did it in the second half. Once they recognize you're doing that, they start to set a little deeper. Then when the end drops, they now take the hit off the quarterback, and we got that accomplished at halftime. And then our backs went the wrong way twice, So, we have some older veteran backs, and basically we're picked up. We slide to the right, and the back has the linebacker to the left, and PJ should be protected. And those are the ones you saw PJ kind of go, oh, no, they didn't pick it up, and kind of reverse out to his left and right and run all around. So most of our wounds are still self-inflicted, and that's why I went in and took responsibility for that after the game. It wasn't like, hey, they're blitzing and we just can't block them, right? That's happened a couple times this year where we just couldn't block the other team. They were blitzing and our guys just weren't going to where they're supposed to be. And while I'm not, I don't call the plays, I'm not the offensive coordinator, I'm not the O-line coach, I'm not any of those, it still falls under me, right? And so it didn't happen, right? So we are at a place on defense where the guys take 100% accountability for what goes wrong, right, wrong, or indifferent. And that really happened after UCF. They kind of, as a group, grew up. They had kind of had some success early. And on defense, after the UCF game, we kind of all said, you know what, I'm going to do my job really well. And that's why we had 3 starters go down last week before the game. And we replaced Pretlow, we replaced Nate D. Smith, and we replaced Reddick. And we go out there and play that kind of defense. On offense, we're kind of not there yet, where it's still sort of guys are making mistakes and still kind of saying, hey, my bad, and that's the next step for them. They got to catch up to the defense and say, if I'm supposed to block that linebacker, I better go block him, and I better get him blocked. And that didn't happen enough on Saturday. So, PJ didn't do a bunch of things right on Saturday. He made some mistakes, but the blitzes were, that's why all of a sudden you see a ball kind of go a little bit high. I mean, it's hard to play quarterback when they're throwing fastballs at you, and they're supposed to be picked up, and they're not. And that happened too much.
Once you get the history with these kids or whatever, but at any point when you mentioned that, the inaugural Sugar Bowl, you guys were there, this is the first time you're going back to New Orleans.
Yeah, I haven't said that yet, but we'll say that it's kind of the week winds down, and I think Rich had one of the programs, right? The initial programs Foley had it in his office, one of the original programs from that game. But I think our kids, right now we've just been trying to get our kids focused on, what has to happen on the field and how to defend these guys and attack these guys, but we'll certainly make sure we understand that, because when you go into a new conference, there's all these new teams, and you don't have as much in common with them. You don't have a relationship with them, and so when there's things like that, then we try to talk about them.
Matt, were you expecting more of the freshman wide receiver class than you got out of them this year?
I think the part of that was my decision. I think we signed 25 kids. I redshirted 15 of the 25, and Eaton. We tried to play Eaton early, and he got hurt. So if you get hurt, you get hurt. Hurt his knee. I think he'll end up being a heck of a receiver. Yancey's kind of come on as the year went on, and he's had some catches the last couple of games. So I've been pleased with him. Derek Thomas was a guy that we brought in mid-year last year. We thought would be a big play, dynamic threat. He hasn't done that yet. He has the potential to. He just hasn't done it yet. So I think, in replacing kind of the wideouts we lost last year, we went with those 4 kids and thought that they would maybe come in and help us a little bit earlier. They haven't yet. I think they'll be good, But again, part of that's, like I said, of the 25 kids, I redshirted 15 kids, and that really hasn't happened here. So, I am as impatient and as frustrating a guy. I mean, I might smile but I don't like to lose. But I also know that we have made a decision to do this right. And so, I look at those O linemen and those D linemen out there, and they're getting big and strong and physical. And I know that we will be significantly better in the coming years because we made the decision to. There's a lot of years here where we didn't redshirt any of the O linemen, and it's really hard to be good, right? And now those 3 kids are redshirting, and those 40 linemen are redshirting, and 2 backs are redshirting. I think it'll pay off. It's just a little frustrating right now.
How are you health-wise? The guys that you talked about yesterday, like Nate and Will, did they continue to practice?
Yeah, they practiced today, so see how they came out of today because it was physical. But we'll see how they came out today. But they practiced today, so I would anticipate all those guys playing.
And now if we just look at the stats, they see that Tyler's numbers are down. But obviously part of that, as you find, is his defensive play so much better around. Can you talk about where his play is as opposed to where it was at the end of last season?
Oh, Tyler's playing really good football. It's funny. He texted me on. I think I woke up Sunday morning and it was like, Coach, I'm sorry I didn't play well enough for us to win. I mean, I texted him back. I was like, well, first of all, we're all in this together. Second of all, I thought you played fantastic. And that just gives you an idea where Tyler is, man. He's just such a team guy. But I think he's played outstanding. I think he's gotten us in the right defenses. They're playing great team defense. And, they only had 30 plays in the first half. It's hard to have a lot of tackles, when your whole team's under 60 plays now. And that's a no-huddle offense. So I think Tyler's been physical. He's been accountable. He's been a captain. He's made plays all over the field. He's playing. He's starting to be able to play man coverage for us now. Allowed us to be a lot more aggressive on Saturday. So Tyler's playing outstanding football.
For the cart for the horse, what challenges would you give him in the offseason?
That's a good question. I think I'd have to probably talk to Phil and Mike Sravo about that. In terms of exactly what he's not doing yet. I think, he always has to keep building his body physically, right? So I think if he can get to be 40, 42 and still run well, that'd be great for him. And, I think I'm excited about, which I don't want to start talking about next year, but it's one thing Coach Paterno always did. Like, got to the end games, right? The last games, whether it was the last regular season game or the bowl game, was always about sending the seniors off on the right note and what your team was going to be like next year, what those seniors were going to be like next year. And I think that I'm looking for, Tyler's been a leader and a captain since he was a sophomore. He's probably been a leader since he was a freshman. I just wasn't here, but he's been a leader. So to now get into this off season and this class with Tyler and Ioannidis and all those seniors that have been playing for 2 or 3 years, have them be the seniors now, have it be their show. I'm really excited for them about that. And I'm challenging them this week to make sure that this week sets a tone for everybody about how it's going to be while they're the seniors and they're the captains. So, but I think that's probably most things for him are off the field and tangible, just becoming even a better leader because he's a great leader.
Who's the most improved player on the defense?
Probably Tavon Young. I mean, the shame of losing that game on Saturday was, that was as an impressive performance by Tavon until that last pass interference call down the field, but that was as impressive a performance. I mean, he played man-to-man at the field corner, and they took however many shots on him, posts in the end zone. And to be a guy, Tavon, some of these kids are new, right? So, Champs new, Chandler's new. They came in from last year. A lot of these kids played last year, and they gave up all those yards last year. And Tavon Young, to me, under Phil and Francis Brown's direction, Francis has done a great job with him, has developed into one of the finest corners in the league. And we don't sit in zone coverages all. We play man, we play everything. So I would say Tavon, but I mean, there's so many guys on defense that have gotten better. Like Jared Alwan went into that game after a couple weeks off, and Jared Alwan played outstanding linebacker. Just played outstanding. Avery Williams has been outstanding. Stephon Marshall's been outstanding. They've given us multiple guys to play. Having Praise back has been a difference maker. But Avery Ellis, redshirted last year with a bad back, and Avery Ellis got in the game and played well. So we just have a lot of good players on defense right now. They're all kind of doing their job really well. None of them is just, hey, I'm so much better than everybody else. They're all kind of doing their job. But just a guy that went through the wars last year and struggled and then came out this year, and I think should be a first team all everything in the conference this year would be Tavon.
People talk about if you do where you could go all you just have to spare it away. We got to win games. So it's like, don't worry about that on Saturday night if we're fortunate enough to win games.
Yeah, no, we have to win a football game, and I know how hard it's going to be to win the football game, and that's the one. The one thing I know is the things I say are pretty consistent. Like I've always said I wanted the team to value winning, and one of the things has been since we've kind of gotten to 5 wins, teams have assumed we'd win a 6th, and you have to go win the 6th, right? Because we've lost 2 of them by a touchdown or by a score, right? And so you have to go take it and win it, and that's not Tulane wants to win at home on Senior Day, and they want to end their season the right way, and they've got to smell blood in the water. We haven't scored many points, and maybe our team's flat, maybe our team that doesn't want to go down there at 7:30 at night, and they have to be ready to play. So. I know if we win this game, I know that we'll be bowl eligible, and I know that people would be lucky to have us. I know our kids would do a great job, and we would play really well. But we got to go win the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's about winning, finding a way to win this game, and I don't want to have to send those seniors off and get started for next year off a loss. I know that.
Ben, how frustrating was it for you to watch them play that basically cat and mouse game, putting the Wildcat in there? They got an offense that goes for almost 500 yards a game. And he's just trying to run the clock down so that you don't have a chance to get the ball back.
Yeah, well, I mean, the time he went the Wildcat, we stopped it, right? Yeah, we got it. Yeah. Well, no, I think the Wildcat, he went 3 and out with that. Right? I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing was frustrating at the end. Like, we needed to make a play to get the ball out. And like I said, that's on me for using the timeouts early. I mean, that was my fault. If I don't use those timeouts, we stop the clock. We get the ball back earlier. So, I mean, that's just, like I said, I apologize to the team. I mean, that's the team deserved better than what I did. And then, really that last drive, I mean, we just kind of kept stopping them. And, for them to throw that ball, I think it's a sign to our defense of how much respect the other team has for them, is we had a timeout left on 3rd down, and they threw the ball deep. I mean, most people would run the ball, right, make us use our last timeout, punt it, and I just think our guys were ripping the ball out. Our defense was playing so hard. I don't think they wanted us to get it out. And even after that pass interference, we got the ball back again. So just a great job by the defense. But, I was proud of our defense, the fact that no matter what they did other than at the goal line, going Wildcat, throwing it, running it, our defense just kept stopping it. But, if I don't use those timeouts early in the second half, then we have timeouts at the end of the game, and we can stop them and hopefully get the ball back. And not sure that if we would have scored, or at least have a better chance.
Was the timeout the first one on a quick kick? I mean, you just wanted to alert everybody to that?
No, it's like I said after the game. They come out and they see if you're in quick kick or not. And we had called an all-out blitz, and 2 of the defensive ends were turned around. They didn't know what the call was, and what I didn't want to give them the first down. I knew because I knew that if we didn't stop them there, our offense wasn't going to score 3 touchdowns. We had to get that ball back, so I called that timeout just because we were turned around. We didn't know what the call was. Some guys were going to start playing cover 2 now, and that's just kind of been our MO. Those plays. So, but I should have just let the play. I should have let it play out. But I didn't.
Now, when you look at the film, are you still seeing routes that are there where PJ's throwing to the right spot and guys just aren't being?
No, the wideouts played well. I thought the wideouts played well, John. I mean, our issue was protection. Our issue was he missed some throws, right? I mean, the first 3rd down of the game, JC's wide open. We don't make the throw. I thought our wideouts has made a huge step over the last 2 weeks. They thought it was the first time they played winning football. I thought our offensive line blocked in the run game really well. I don't think we just didn't, maybe run the football as well as we wanted, but protection-wise, we were hurt. We were hurt. I mean, I thought he made some really good throws, and those over routes to Jalen that Jalen made catches on, but we missed some throws, and we didn't protect well enough.
The throw to Thompson, whose fault was that? Was that a bad throw or catching the ball?
I mean, it hit him in the hands, right? I mean, I know my dad told me when I was 8, if the ball hits you in the hands, you got to catch it. It's like everything else. I tell PJ, hey, take 2 more steps before you throw it back, like you've been trained to do, right? But it's also the running back goes to cut the blitzing linebacker. He misses the cut, so instead of getting to the edge and setting it up even further and throwing that ball back, which if you go back to Army in 2000, when we came back, they come back in Army, we threw that to Von Charlton for a touchdown. We threw it in 2006 at Vanderbilt to Marcus Brown. I think we've thrown probably 7 touchdowns over the last 8 years on that play.
Penn State ball, same part of the end zone.
I wasn't there for that game, but when they threw to Cody, that was overthrown, right? And then we threw it earlier in the game, right, off a different formation. So if the quarterback takes 3 or 4 more steps, you throw that ball back, it's an easier catch. But the back missed the cut, the quarterback was a little short, and then instead of running back and catching the ball, we run and we start backpedaling, the ball hits our hands. So, whose fault is that? It all comes back on me. But that's the good thing is I know that, they'll keep getting better, and next time we call that play, Colin will run back there and fair catch it and catch the ball and win the game, and the quarterback will keep getting width and we'll keep blocking the guy. But it's like on offense, everything's like a trigger. Everything sets off a chain of events. It all starts with what? Mistakes sometimes start with a bad snap with a guy missing a cut. I try not to come in and say, like, hey, this guy blew it. This guy blew it, because I think that's why our kids like playing for us in the long run. They might not like me every day, but they like us in the long run because we don't throw them under the bus. But sometimes I have to do a little bit to make sure when it's like PJ really didn't overthrow that ball. Like the guy missed the block and he hit him in the hands, right? I mean, that's a pretty good play by him, and so. Probably more just to his father. You know, I've gotten to know his father over the years pretty well just in recruiting and just as you know, getting to know him. And but not much more than that. Nate just hasn't gotten into great detail other than just kind of let me know that that's kind of where he came from. So.
For a kid to go through that, who would you be, from the outside looking in, would you think it's maybe kind of get some motivation or draw motivation maybe from it?
Well, it's like anything else in life. When you go through adversity, it can do one of two things for you. It can kind of shell shock you, or it can make you tougher because you can go through something and get better, right? And so, I think in Nate L's case, that's a really resilient kid. He's handled adversity. He's a kid that when I first got here, I wasn't sure if he'd make it much longer. Just everything, and he has just grown into a man, into a student. Even this year, he's dealt with a pretty bad ankle injury that's kept him off the field a lot. But he's played for us the last couple games. And I think it goes back to the fact that he's a really good person. He comes from 2 good high schools, comes from a good family, and he's been through things in his life. So, a little bit of adversity doesn't necessarily set Nate L back. He's been through greater adversity than that. And, I'm proud to have him on the team. I think as he gets healthier over the next couple of years, he'll get to be a pretty good player for us, a really good player for us. So, all right, thanks, guys.